Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about how the flexible seating that I implemented about 2 weeks ago or maybe a week and a half ago and how that's going in my classroom. The video I filmed for this was me explaining that I got my donors choose completely funded, and so what I asked for on the donors choose project was to get flexible seating options. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it has been pretty successful in my classroom. Most of my students really just jumped on this. They followed all the expectations I had of them. There were a few problems at the beginning and still are a few. You know, there are always those students that want to push the limits, but that keeps the classroom exciting for you, I guess. But I'm going to show you how I started it and how I just keep consistent with my rules and expectations of the students. So the first time I ever spoke to my students about, our classroom is changing, we are going to have different seating options and things like that, what I did was I showed them the different seating options we were going to have eventually, and then I let all of my students try each option out, and that took a few minutes, and then the very next day is when I actually implemented all the seating options. And originally I thought I was going to do like a few at a time or maybe just one different option at a time, but I just went ahead and did all of them all at once, and it was fine. I didn't really have problems with that. What I did do that first day that I did allow students to actually work in those seats was this is something that I created just on PowerPoint. But so it's my flexible seating expectations. And so this is actually something that I have posted on my whiteboard at all times, and I can refer to it when there's a child that maybe has forgotten or that maybe just needs a little bit of a reminder. And the first one says, pick a seat that will help you do your best. So that's something that when I was reading on different blogs about flexible seating and what other teachers had done, and I guess they were talking about how research shows that not all kids, will work the same in a chair and all that stuff, which we all know, everybody is different. But most of the teachers said that the students were able to work, I guess, more efficiently or actually finish work when they picked a seat that would help them be successful. I don't know if that's necessarily the case in my classroom. My kids are very good, and even when we just had the traditional chairs, I think they did just fine. They did their work, they completed their work. There may be one or two students that I feel like, okay, their option is really helping them complete work. But for the most part, the other students, they're just having fun. This is a new place where they can do their work. It's different. And so instead of them picking something where they're going to do their best because they're already doing their best, they're just kind of picking something that they want to try that's new. And number one, if they're finishing work, and number two, if they're having fun doing it, I mean, that's just a win-win for me. And so that is what I told them originally, is pick a seat that will help you do your best. And I still remind them of that. But honestly, I don't think that has really been the case. Again, my students anyway, at the beginning of the year, I set my expectations and I'm very consistent. So I really didn't have problems with students finishing. But so yeah, that part I'm still kind of like, I don't know, I can't say, oh, all of my students have completely turned around and they're doing awesome because of these seats. They were great at the beginning and they're still doing great now. Now they just have these different fun options. So my next flexible seating expectation was, if you need to switch seats, raise your hand. And so that hasn't really happened very much. I mean, kids have picked a seat and they've liked it. And again, it's only been 2 weeks. I have switched a few students around because of behavior issues, or they were not following the rules for that specific seat. But no student has actually raised their hand because they're like, oh, I don't think I can work here. So the next one was, make smart choices while you are at your seat. Again, that's a given. And then the last one was, Mrs. Sims may ask you to move seats at any time. So I did explain that to the students, that if I thought they were not performing at their best or They were playing with the seats, because that was something that I said at the beginning also, that the seats are not toys. They are not toys. Some of them wobble, but they are not toys. And so that was something that I made very clear. And I did explain to the students that if I thought that they were not doing their work, or again, they were not being successful, or they were playing with the seat instead of using it as a learning tool, that I would move them. And I've only had to do that with 2 students, and I have 20 students. So I think we've been pretty successful. I also have a set of expectations for each different seating option, and those are actually back there on top of my math and reading station clips, and I will show you those and kind of briefly tell you what they're about. So as you can see, I have posted the expectations for each seating option back here on this cabinet. Before I actually posted them up here, I had them on my whiteboard, and I just went over them for the first maybe 2 or 3 days, and then I posted them up here. So these are the little anchor charts that I created for each of the seating options that are available to us in our classroom. The clip art I got from Teachers Pay Teachers. I just got a little bundle that somebody was selling, and then I just created this on PowerPoint. So another thing that I also did at the beginning was that I had my students fill out a flexible seating contract. And this again is just something that I just quickly created. I looked at other ones on Teachers Pay Teachers. They have a lot of free ones, and they have ones that you can pay for. But I just created my own, but I did use those as a place to start. So what the contract says is, I, in the student's name, promise to use our classroom seating options safely and correctly. I will thoughtfully choose a seat in which I can do my best work, and that will help me be the best learner I can be. So it has different sections, and as I read each section, I stopped and I'd made sure each student understood what that section meant. And the next section says, I completely understand that our new seating options are here to help me be the best first grade learner I can be. I also understand that these new seats are not toys, and I will use them properly at all times. The next section says, if I fail to use the seats properly, I understand that I may be putting myself or others in danger. I also understand that Mrs. Sims is able to move me at any time that I choose not to use our new seat safely. If I am not sure about the expectations for a seat I am using, I will quietly ask a classmate or raise my hand and ask Miss Sims. And then it has a spot for them to fill their name in and fill the date in. In this section, I have my stand-up tables, and there are 3 students that actually stand while they're doing their work. 2 of them chose this option. One of them, I actually recommended this option to them, but because whenever she would do her work, when we had just the traditional chairs, she'd always stand up and just push her chair to the side. So I did recommend that option to her, and she's fine with it. My coworkers, when I showed them this option that I had, they said, well, aren't you worried that they're going to be tired because they're standing and doing their work? And honestly, they may stand at most 15 to 20 minutes, but I mean, if we're having a small group lesson, they're on the rug, they're not here the whole school day. And then when we go to stations, they're at different stations, and depending on what station they're in, they're gonna have a different seating option. So I don't worry about that. They don't ever complain about being tired. Actually, the student here will sometimes ask me, can I sit for a little bit? And she can go to the back round table that I have back there, and she sits there. So it really hasn't been a problem for me. So next, I just want to show you my yoga balls, and those are kind of scattered in different spots around the room. There's actually one back there that you can't really see that I will show you, but the yoga balls are just fine. All the kids love them. The kids that have been using them have had no problems falling off of them. I do have a student that's a little bit shorter, and I did luckily have a yoga ball that was smaller, so she's using that one. And actually her feet don't even touch the ground, and still she has not fallen. She can get on it really quick, and she can get off of it really quick. So that's just been a fun option for them to also use. And when I showed them the expectations for that one, I did tell them that if they were going to jump up and down on them, that they had to do it gently. If they're, flinging themselves off, then, they're not going to be able to use that one. So they've been doing a good job about that. What I have noticed is they kind of are noisy, and so I thought that was going to be just a distraction for other students, or other students say, oh my gosh, that's loud. it doesn't really bother me and it hasn't bothered anybody else, and I kind of just tune it out. And so I haven't really, had a problem with that. Actually, the next door teacher, that's also a first grade, she also went and got some yoga balls just to have different options for her students. And she was telling me that the noise bothers her. And so, I guess it just depends on you and if you're going to make that a big deal or not. I don't, and we've been fine. And again, it is a noise that you can hear because they're bouncing up and down, but I don't worry about it. So all of the yoga balls have this kind of ring around them, and it's just a pool noodle that I sharpened both ends on 2 pencils. And so I just pretty much stuck the pencils together, and that helped me secure the pool noodle into a little circle. And then I just put some packaging clear tape around it so none of the kids could get to it. And none of them really touched this, and I didn't even have to tell them to touch it, so that's been good. But it keeps the ball from going everywhere. So I can just put the ball there and then it won't go anywhere, and that's really been helpful. So moving over here to this section of the room, there are 3 students that use these wobble stools, and these wobble stools are really great. The kids love them. I actually have 4 of them. One of them I have at my back table that's kind of one that students can use just when they think they're more wobbly, or if I see a student that's just got a lot of energy one day, I just say, go sit in the wobble chair, and they know. Sometimes they'll say, oh, because I have too much energy, and I'm just like, yes, that's why. And so, it really helps them because it just gets them going and they can just move. And for example, this child is also a child that I actually recommended this seat to him because he is very fidgety and he gets very nervous when he doesn't know things and just is not super confident. He has come a long way from the beginning of the year, but I have noticed that this has really helped him because he moves like all the time. Like when he's getting his work done, I watch him and he would be moving on his chair. And so this has really helped him because it allows him to move side to side or back and forth. And so this is really great. I love this. And these are kind of expensive. I wish they weren't because I would have way more. But I love these. And like I said, for this child, I have really seen just a little bit of a change because he's able to wobble and move. Where as opposed to where he was on the chair, he really wasn't. He would move, but I guess his body didn't get that sensation of actually moving, but now he does. So moving on over here to these bagel round seats. These I think are actually made for putting on chairs and the students being able to wobble on the chair, but I just wanted to use them as a floor seat. And so they're just round and rubbery and they're kind of like ribbed, so they have texture feel kind of. But when you sit on one of these and you kind of just move side to side, it kind of gives you the sensation of you actually moving way more than you're actually really moving, if that makes sense. But especially if you're a little child, it just feels like you're really moving. And so I've watched some of the students, I only have 2 of these. I kind of want to get more just so they can have more options to sit on the floor, and they just really enjoy these. One of the students actually moves in it, and he is actually one that kind of had ants in his pants throughout the year very often, and so he's really actually using this for that. The other student just really sits on it, and I think she thinks it's fun to sit on the floor on this thing and do her work. But when I started this at this lowered table that I just took off all the legs and put these kind of tennis balls at the bottom because the bottoms were sharp, I was having a problem because so their desks have room for them to put their things in, but these round tables, there's no room for them to put their things in. And so at the beginning, I only had 2 kids here, and so I just had their things on the table. So their journals, their toolboxes, their folders, and they would just kind of slide around and make a mess, and that was kind of just, I don't like that. I'm not a person that's super neat and everything has to be in its place at all times, but I do like my classroom to be organized, and when there's things all over the tables, it just doesn't look clean or organized. And so I was thinking I was going to get one of those, I think they're Sterilite brand or something, those big drawers or big containers that have the 3 drawers, and I would just have students put their things in each drawer. But then I thought, well, where am I going to put it? It's just going to be an eyesore. I've seen people use those at each group and it looks good, but at a round table, it's kind of hard to just put that somewhere and it not be in the way. So what I did was I came across these baskets while I was actually looking for those big containers, and I wondered if my students could just use these, and they've been successful. They can fit everything in here, their toolbox, all of their journals, their clipboard, all of their folders, and what they do is they just slide it under the table, and when they need something, they just slide it out. And so that's really works great. It contains their things so it doesn't make a big mess. And so that was something that I was really worried about when I started flexible seating, because I thought, oh my gosh, where are they going to put all of their things? They do have a cubby, but the cubbies aren't really big, and I don't want kids running over there at the same time, you know, getting in front of each other, because they're not like spread out. They're all in like one section. So in order for you to get something, if there's somebody already there, you have to wait, and that just wastes time. And I don't like wasting time. I like to be the most efficient because we have a lot to learn every day. But so that really helped with these bagels, and the kids love them. So last, I'm going to talk about those lap desks and those little red chairs that, like, there's one right there. That red chair, the student actually sits at that round table. But for these lap desks, I have 3 other chairs like that red one that the students use while they're using the lap desks. And right now the lap desks are on that round table because every day when we leave, before we leave our lap desks on there, because the janitors come and they clean and they sometimes vacuum, so I don't want them to be in the way, and they'll just look messy if they stay on the floor. And then what they do with the red chairs is they just kind of extend them all out and lay them all flat on top of each other. So they know that they lay them all flat on top of each other right in front of my whiteboard, and that way they're kind of out of the way and the classroom doesn't look messy when I come in every morning. So that is actually what the chairs with the lap desks look like when the students are using them. I have 3 students on the floor right there, and they're right directly in front of that round table. They're also really close to the rug where I actually do whole group, but it doesn't really get in the way. The students that sit in those lap desks and those red chairs, they know that when it is time for whole group, what they do is they put their lap desk on top of the red chair so it doesn't get in any of the squares of my rug, and that way all the students can come and sit on the rug without any problems. So that is the ending to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something from it that you may be able to use in your classroom. If you are considering doing flexible seating, I would say if you are just unsure of it, start with just bouncy balls. That's what my next door neighbor has done. And then she also included lap desks. So she's slowly just changing things up, and her students love it. Your students will love it. It's something different, it's something fun, it's not the regular chairs. Not that there's anything wrong with the regular chairs, because I actually still have 2 students that just use the traditional chairs, and they're fine, they do their work. But again, if you want to try it, just try it. Don't be afraid to try something new, and you'll never know. It might just be super successful in your classroom, and if it's not, then you just don't do it anymore. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch some more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.